What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their security did not rest upon the threat of instant U.S. retaliation to deter a Soviet attack, that we could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies?
It was Ronald Reagan who saved the people of Israel from Iran's missile barrage the weekend of April 13. In a televised address in 1983, America's 40th president proposed what he called the Strategic Defense Initiative.
Isn't it worth every investment necessary to free the world from the threat of nuclear war?
Democrats and much of the defense establishment mocked the idea, with Senator Ted Kennedy calling it Star Wars.
No legendary adventure of the past could be as exciting as this romance of the future.
Here they come.
The president in 1983 performed an astounding political act, announcing a presidential vision that the American people could escape nuclear danger, not by arms control, but by erecting an anti-nuclear Astrodome over the United States of America.
By universal acclamation, the hero during Iran's April 13th bombardment was Israel's missile defense system. Reagan's commitment to developing technology that could shoot down missiles guaranteed that not a single person was killed by the more than 300 ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones fired by Iran and its proxies at cities across Israel.
These are 60 tons of explosives directly to Israel.
Within 2 years of Reagan's 1983 announcement, Israel signed a memorandum of understanding with the United States to develop missile defenses.
It is experimental. There's questions about how well it'll work. It uses a very sophisticated radar system to track and intercept the missiles after they're launched. It's also quite expensive to operate, but it can provide the protection that other systems have not been able to do.
Unveiled in 2011, the Iron Dome forms part of a multi-layered missile defense system. The dome itself protects from short-range missiles of the sort fired from Lebanon by Hezbollah. David's sling protects from short to medium-range missiles, while the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 systems hit missiles at high altitudes. Reagan's experience with the Strategic Defense Initiative has lessons for the United States today, with the unmissable irony that SDI opponent Joe Biden is running the show.
Star Wars represents a fundamental assault on the concepts, alliances, and arms control agreements that have buttressed American security for several decades. And the president's continued adherence to it constitutes one of the most reckless and irresponsible acts in the history of modern statecraft.
If we have learned anything in 3 years, it is that Mr. Biden is saturated in the school of U.S. foreign policy that always says, don't provoke a response. On Israel, he says they should take the win because retaliation risks provoking a wider war. On Russia's invasion of Ukraine, he said he'd provide Ukraine with whatever it takes as long as it takes, then slow-walked military aid to Ukraine for fear it would provoke Mr. Putin.
The out-year spending projections included in this budget envision continued reductions in missile defense spending.
And just hours before Iran launched its attack, the House Armed Services Committee held a hearing on U.S. missile defenses. The complaint from committee members on both sides of the aisle was that the Biden defense budget would cut some $400 million from the Pentagon's Missile Defense Agency.
My biggest concern is that I just don't understand the rationale behind many of these cuts.
Seems like missile defense is an area that we do not want to be cutting.
Believe it or not, Reagan's missile defense legacy has an important advocate.
I will build an Iron Dome over our country, a state-of-the-art missile defense shield made in the USA.
As president in 2019, Mr. Trump revived the missile defense program, and he restated that commitment, citing Reagan during the New Hampshire primary.
You know, Reagan proposed that many years ago, Star Wars. He proposed it many, many years ago, but at that time there was no technology. It was just like it looked good. But we have unbelievable technology.
Mr. Biden deserves credit for helping Israel repel Iran's missiles and drones. It's clear, though, that the world has entered a new era of state-sponsored missile attacks. First Russia into Ukraine, and now Iran's swarmed assault on Israel. To meet that threat, Mr. Biden would have to admit Ronald Reagan was right. It won't happen.
Strategic Defense Initiative has been labeled Star Wars, but it isn't about war. It's about peace. It isn't about retaliation. It's about prevention. It isn't about fear. It's about hope. And in that struggle, if you'll pardon my stealing a film line, the force is with us.